Thank you, Rabbi. On Rosh Hashanah, I ask that you make a pledge to Temple Bet Tikva. Today, I ask that you make a pledge for the state of Israel. And to deliver our appeal, we are breaking new ground, as in the history of TBT, we have never had a woman deliver the Israeli bond appeal until today. As background, professionally, she is a psychologist in private practice, as well as an adjunct professor at Cal State Fullerton. She also writes a column for the Fullerton Observer. More important, she is a wife and a mom and has a most compelling story to tell. Most of you know her, but after today, all of you will. It is my esteemed pleasure to present Michelle Gottlieb.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I'm a professional. Yes, I do all this stuff. But today, I'm here to talk as a mom. My family has been members of TBT for almost 20 years. We have two sons. Our oldest is Joshua. He's 20 years old. We also have a 15-year-old Noah, who hopefully is sitting out there somewhere. Josh recently went to Israel to serve in the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF. He is one of over 5,000 soldiers that come from all over the world who currently serve in the IDF. Josh did not have to go to Israel. None of these soldiers do. They leave their families, their homes, in fact, everything they know, for a country they may have only visited briefly. Josh was only there for about 2 weeks, 2 years ago. Josh, at age 20, got on a plane, flew halfway across the world to a country where he did not speak the language. When he got off the plane, his phone, that was bought to work in Israel, didn't. He had to ask a stranger to call his distant cousins, who he'd only met once, to let them know that he arrived. He then got into a shared cab to go to Jerusalem. All of this without speaking the language. How many of you could have done that at age 20? He found a kibbutz that he could move into, and he fought through all the bureaucracy, which Israel has a lot of, to become a member of the IDF, where they work him incredibly hard. The Israeli army, as you know, is one of the strongest in the world. They need their soldiers to be strong. This is no walk in the park. His first month in the army is a type of pre-basic training. In his unit, there are people from Russia, Canada, Australia, Japan, and the United Kingdom. He says he's woken up when the moon and stars are out, and he goes to sleep when the moon and stars are out. His unit is told to run, then stand at attention, then do it again, and again, and again. After the first month, he'll spend the next 2 months learning Hebrew. He will spend 6 hours a day in his classroom. By the way, Josh got a gun a few weeks ago. He has to carry it with him everywhere he goes, including the classroom. After he finishes his Ulpan, the Hebrew lessons, then he'll go into the real basic training. I'm guessing that we will hear him really complain then. After that, he will go into his unit. Well, Josh has not yet been assigned to where he will go. He wants to go into tanks. All in all, he'll spend about 2 years in the Army. Approximately 2,000 young men and women enlist each year in the IDF to become what are called lone soldiers. They have no families in Israel, no one to spend Shabbat with, no one to spend the holidays with. They come because Israel's that important to them. Most of these lone soldiers serve in combat units. Again, they do not have to. They could easily serve in the non-combat units, but they want to protect Israel by actively fighting for the country. In fact, these soldiers often win awards of being outstanding soldiers because of their commitment and contribution. They often inspire the Sabras, the native Israelis, with this commitment. Let me take a minute to tell you about an amazing organization, the Lone Soldier Center in memory of Michael Levin. Michael was a lone soldier that was killed defending Israel. As you might guess, it is very difficult for me to say these words. My biggest fear, terror really, is that Josh will fall defending Israel. But let me get back to Michael. His parents worked together with former lone soldiers to create the center. They are an amazing organization. It is made up of former lone soldiers that stayed in Israel who now support the current group of soldiers. Josh got in touch with them before he left. They have helped him through every step of the maze of bureaucracy that is Israel. Right now, Josh is not getting paid. He didn't sign
sign up to do this for free. The center is making sure that that gets taken care of. They help with housing, because there are soldiers that need someplace to live every Shabbat when they leave their base. They find furniture for them. They have Shabbat gatherings. They have holiday gatherings. They find adoptive families for these young people. They support them in every way they can. By the way, Josh's adoptive family is wonderful. They feed him, they do his laundry, and they send me email updates on how he's doing. They've definitely made him part of their family. Josh wanted to protect Israel. It was important for him to make sure that Israel continues to exist. When I asked Josh why he wanted to do this, he said, the U.S. has a choice if they go to war. Israel does not. They are surrounded on three sides by enemies. Israel needs soldiers. All of these soldiers are willing to give their lives to make sure that Israel continues. Josh is willing to give his life. How can we do less? I'm here today to ask you to invest in Israeli bonds. I'm here to ask you to invest in the country that my son is willing to die for, to make sure that the country has water, trees, infrastructure, tanks, planes. I'm not even asking you to risk anything. I'm simply asking you to make an investment. Putting emotion aside, it is a sound investment. You will get your money back with interest. Israel has never missed an interest or redemption payment. You can make this part of your retirement portfolio. Israel has an A rating, and this year is projected to have a 3.0 growth rate. When we invest in Israeli bonds, we lessen the chance of Israel having the types of financial crises that Spain and Greece are having. Israel has a strong economy now. We need to do our part to help it stay that way. I'm asking you, no, as a mom, I am begging you to invest in Israel. Because of the money that you invest in Israeli bonds, you are making the country stronger. Therefore, you help me to keep my son and all the lone soldiers, all the soldiers, safe. Without our investments in this amazing country, that is our home too, we are putting these young people at risk. We can't do this. We need to make this investment. We need to keep these soldiers, these people, safe. How can we do less than these young men and women? How can we do less than Josh? What I'm asking you to do is so little. Please invest. There are forms for you on your chair. Please fill them out. The ushers will come by. Please do no less than my son.